The stories you are about to see are real. The rewards up to $5 million are real. This is Crime Reports and Rewards with Griff Griffin and Dave Michaels, where you stay anonymous, the criminals don't. And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
If you've been watching Crime Reports and Rewards, then following us on our Facebook pages, Crime Reports and Rewards, or AugustaCrimeStoppers.org, you've heard there may be a turf war breaking out in Augusta. It's suspected the very beginnings of this turf war began with the Payne College shootings and has continued with several other shootings you may have heard about all over town. But what's the main cause? Crime Reports thinks cartels dumping cheap rat poison drugs in Atlanta is the current cause, but the roots go even further back. In the 60s and 70s, marijuana began being brought in through our open southern borders and sold for whatever illegal immigrants could get for it. This resulted in an underground distribution network for neighborhood dealers being set up all over America. When politicians saw a way to make billions in fines, seize private property without the pesky due process, and an avenue to erase every American's rights so they could control us more easily, they quickly passed laws to criminalize something that had been in America for hundreds of years and was not harmful to individuals, so almost nobody had even heard about it. As with the last prohibition, politicians saw a quick buck and a great way to erase citizens' rights, so they could get rich and seize more power. Laws were quickly passed, lives were ruined, and government exploded, caging people for crimes where there was no complainant, and gave them a great excuse to take citizens' private property without due process, which up until that time was unprecedented under U.S. law. Then in the 70s, huge bribes began being paid to politicians to make certain the drug market would become an even more profitable and stabilize the cartel profits by enacting work drug testing laws. These new laws would guarantee the cartels a more stable income by switching their already existing dealer networks over to crack cocaine. Cartels knew marijuana stays in your system over 3 times longer than cocaine, and cocaine could not be yanked out from under them as easily as the marijuana market, which could be grown by Americans. So they helped politicians enact drug test laws that would switch them to cocaine, which stopped showing up in drug tests within days instead of over a month like marijuana. This resulted in the cartels experiencing unprecedented wealth and power such as the world has never seen. Politicians used the new drug laws to control the population, make incredible amounts of money, seize private property, build training grounds they called jails for their growing army of law enforcement, and further erase those pesky civil rights that keep getting in their way of total control. The cartels were getting rich, the politicians were taking over, and civil rights were in full retreat. The evil shadow government could not be happier. Politicians continue to keep our southern border open, and now Atlanta has become a dumping ground for much of the rat poison drugs coming to North America. A kilo of coke can be bought for about half of what it cost in Augusta, so a southern border new wave of dealers began coming in. Many of these dealers have Western gang connections such as the Blood Gang. With their decades-long association to the cartels out west, they're able to recruit local drug dealer networks with the cartel calling card of silver or lead. either take their cheap cartel drugs and sell them for them, or they would be killed. Now, existing dealer networks that have quietly made a living dealing drugs are confronted with a new wave of gang-affiliated younger drug dealers being recruited by Western gangs such as the Bloods. These gangs have connections to the cartels who are dumping cocaine, opium tar, and Mexican meth in the Atlanta area in unprecedented amounts. This is now being brought in either by local drug dealers driving to Atlanta, or at least one major Atlanta dealer that drives a chocolate brown in color 7 Series BMW with chocolate in color rims. The BMW is being driven by a well-dressed, well-groomed black male. The suspect has been seen on Nixon Road dropping off drug supplies to local drug dealers that may have been busted since we began calling in these tips, and several other South Augusta locations where decades-old existing networks have been recruited and new dealer networks are being set up for the CSRA. It's no mistake that South Augusta, being the closest to the Atlanta drug markets, are the drop-off point for nervous Atlanta dealers who want to get into and back out of Augusta without going into what they think is risky territory further into Augusta, where Crime Stoppers has been running them off. Now, in addition to the several other shootings and killings in the Augusta area, 2 black males with a long-known standing involvement in the drug trade were charged Friday morning with murder in the shooting death of 20-year-old Javarius Walthour on Cornell Street in Augusta, which is going to be typical of the older drug dealers defending their turf from the new, younger drug dealers trying to move in. If you've been a long-time fan of Crime Reports and Rewards, you'll notice that Crime Reports and Rewards predicted all of this would happen starting back in 2010. In this homicide, the young victim was found shot to death on Cornell Street in Augusta. At the same time, deputies were called to shots fired on Shirley Avenue. The suspects each have a previous criminal history. According to criminal records, Williams was previously charged with cocaine possession, but the charge was dropped. In 2008, he was charged and later convicted of possessing a sawed-off shotgun, fleeing police, obstruction of law enforcement, and driving with a suspended license. Burns is a convicted felon charged in 1999 with aggravated assault, weapon possession, and weapon possession by a convicted felon. On November 10, 2014, at approximately 2013 hours, the Richmond County Sheriff's Office received a call to Ethan Way at Matthew Court in reference to shots fired with a subject being struck. While en route to that call, responding deputies were flagged down on Isaac Lane in reference to a second subject being shot. During this time, the Sheriff's Office also received a call to the 3600 block of Jonathan Circle in reference to a third person being shot. Upon further investigation, it was learned that all 3 suspects were shot at the Ethan Way and Matthew Court location. Ian Roberts, a 21-year-old black male from the 2100 block of Lisa Lane, was shot at least one time and succumbed to his injuries there at the scene. Ronnie Johnson, a 21-year-old black male from the 1900 block of Kings Grant Drive, was shot at least once in the left leg and fled the scene to Isaac Lane. Johnson was later transported to GRUCR, where he was treated and later released to investigators. Gerald Carter Jr., a 17-year-old black male from the 2200 block of Winston Way, was also shot at least once while at Ethan Way at Matthew Court. Carter was taken from the scene to the 3600 block of Jonathan Circle, where he was transported to GRU's ER by EMS, where he later died. Neighbors near the Flying Hot Lead were quoted as saying, "The violence has to end." But so far, we do not observe them sharing Crime Stoppers 800-222-TIPS line, or sharing any of the postings of Crime Stoppers Most Wanted that would help end the violence. In May of last year, investigators were called to a suspicious woods fire in the same area to find 3 burned bodies. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office investigation revealed that 2 groups met at Ethan Way at Matthew Court for the purpose of completing a drug transaction when an altercation ensued and shots were fired. Ronnie Johnson is being charged with murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Gerald Studemeyer, 17-year-old black male from the 2500 block of Cross Creek, is being charged with conspiracy to violate the Controlled Substance Act and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime. Now, we want to stop right here because Gerald Studemeyer is 17 years old. The individual killed in the shooting was also 17 years old, which means they were in the same class year. Anytime you see someone in the same class year who ends up doing a drug deal together, that means public school may have played a part in that drug deal connection being started. Joseph Crawford, a 27-year-old black male homeless man, is also being charged with conspiracy to violate the Controlled Substance Act. All subjects are currently in custody at the Charles B. Webster Detention Center. There is word that not all of the players or actors in this crime have been apprehended. If you know of anyone else involved in this shooting, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and unmurdered. Now, for more on the Crime Stoppers' continuing report on the sudden rash of shootings that seem to be breaking out everywhere, another shooting was reported at the Southgate Shopping Center on Gordon Highway near Kmart and the Bilo Shopping Center. The Richmond County Sheriff's Office is looking for a ski-masked man that opened fire on another man Wednesday night in Augusta. The incident happened on Southgate Drive. Richmond County Sheriff's deputies say one man was shot in the thigh by a shooter who was wearing a ski mask, and the weather wasn't even cold yet. Can you imagine what could happen once it's cold and everybody has a ski mask on? The victim was transported to Georgia Regents Medical Center, and the shooter is still on the loose. If you know who or where this armed and very dangerous shooter last seen wearing a ski mask might be, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous, unshot, and get paid. Now, on the Crime Report's special report on the sudden outbreak of a rash of local shootings, Richmond County Sheriff's deputies report a 5'8" black male armed with a gun fired a shot into a couple's car while robbing them late Saturday. The 21-year-old victim told police that he and his girlfriend had just returned to her home on the 500 block of West Richmond Hill Road when a green in color Toyota Camry drove up and a black male stepped out asking if they knew where he could buy some marijuana. The victim said he didn't smoke and the suspect drove off but returned a little later. This time he pulled out a handgun and started pointing it at the couple and demanding money. The victim gave the armed robber his wallet, which only contained $10. When the robber saw that the victim only had $10 in his wallet, he fired a shot into the driver's side door of the victim's car in an effort to scare more money out of them. But when the robber's gun jammed, he couldn't shoot anymore, so he drove off. Deputies described the robber as being about 5'8" and was at the time of the robbery wearing a black knit cap, a green in color camouflage jacket, and baggy jeans. If you know who or where this armed and dangerous black male, who is very dangerous and may rob again at any moment, may be, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous, unshot, unrobbed, and get paid. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office is looking for the two black males you see on your screen. They walked into the Grovetown Walmart on October 29th and used a universal key to get inside two cash registers to steal all their cash. The first theft occurred at about 9:30 p.m. October 29th, and they got away with about $1,200 from that cash register. Then they came back about 15 minutes later, and they took about $200 from another cash register in the same Walmart. If you think you know who or where these black male cash register robbers might be, please call the Columbia County Sheriff's Office at 706-541-2800. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous and keep your cash. And now, Give It Up City earns its name when an Augusta woman was robbed at gunpoint late Wednesday of more than $600. A 20-year-old female reports that she and a friend were trying to enter her apartment on Heritage Circle when she saw two black males standing in her stairway that she knew was generally lit up. When she noticed that the lights in the stairway were not working anymore as they normally were, and there were two black males standing in the stairway, she knew she was in serious trouble. One of the black males began showing them he had a gun and ordered them to give it up. The other black male snatched her purse from her hands, and both of the black males ran off towards the Fox Den Apartments. Both black male armed robbers were wearing dark jackets and blue jeans. If you think you know who or where these armed and dangerous black males last seen running towards the Fox Den Apartments might be, please call the Richmond County Sheriff's Office. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS or text your tips to 803-441-8744, 8744, where you remain anonymous, unrobbed, and get paid. The Columbia County Sheriff's Office is looking for the suspected wallet thief you see on your screen. They suspect that he broke into a truck in Martinez, stole somebody's wallet, and made multiple purchases using the credit cards and debit cards in that wallet. Between 7:30 and 10 a.m., the man purchased $750 in prepaid gift cards and over $50 in gas at 3 different stores. If you think you know where this white male burglarizing a car or truck in Columbia County might be, please call the Columbia County Sheriff's Office at 706-541-2800. Crime Stoppers at 800-222-TIPS, or text your tips to 803-441-8744, where you remain anonymous, keep your stuff in your vehicle, and get paid.
And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
The following video has strong curse words in it. Please remove all children under 18 years of age from the room or mute your TV immediately. The following is a video taken of the alleged effects of steroid abuse by police officers who are not with any local police department. We are showing you this only to explain why so many fear cops using steroids. Again, if you have younger children anywhere near the sound of this TV set or anyone who objects to strong, foul language, please mute your TV now. The recent controversy about alleged steroid abuse being financed by area taxpayers has hit all major media and created quite an alarm among taxpayers who fear being forced to pay tax money to county employees who are being accused of using taxpayers' money to buy steroids. No area government employee has been charged with using steroids at the time this TV show was produced. This clip is only being shown to explain why so many are afraid of cops using steroids due to what is called roid rage. When civilians go into a roid rage, you can call the cops. But what do you do when it's the cops that are in a roid rage? This is the controversy, and the following video is only one of many examples of why civilians fear cops using steroids.
Warrants on it. You can't arrest somebody until they're 17, right?
Hurry up. No, back up.
Oh, just chill. Andrew. He said alright. Hey, he said alright, man. You can't breathe.
He can breathe just
He says he can't breathe.
He's yelling. He can breathe just fine. You're fine.
Hey, bro, just let him go. Andrew, chill.
Andrew.
You just gotta relax. That's all you gotta do.
Can't breathe.
Well, relax.
I'm relaxed. I'm like,
Get right on your back.
I can't get on my back because my head is stuck.
Come this way. Just roll.
Alright.
Get right on your back. That's right.
Oh my God, Joe, you serious?
My stomach?
Your stomach. Get on your stomach now.
Turn me up a little. That's it.
Now, I'll release just a little bit. Now lay down. Put your feet out. Put your hands behind your back.
Put my shirt back.
That's fine. Hands behind your back. Give me the other hand.
Move again.
Move and die?
Move again.
Are you serious?
Get up! Get over here!
I'm just saying, man.
Sit down and go!
Go, fuck.
Sit down and
Alright.
go! Don't say nothing else!
There wasn't nothing necessary for you elbowing in the back of my head.
No, that was his knee.
Did you record that?
I got
I
recorded.
hope you recorded that because those little faggots in
Yeah,
the
faggot!
Shut up.
Move! Move so I can kick your ass!
Shut up.
Move so I can...
Shut up.
Alright.
Move!
Shut
Move you up! Now you...
up.
Good. Well, move. Well, move.
I'm not.
Move. Give me a reason. Look,
What the hell, Will?
you too. You want to.
Hey, he's not even in this. You back the fuck up.
Stupid ass. When the police are talking to you, you be quiet and shut up. This ain't no game.
This ain't no game, I know.
Did you move?
Yeah, what do you think of it, bro? Came over and hit me in the face.
I sure did. You got it on tape?
got it.
Arnold, 654.
654. Got it right there, bro.
Move.
You get arrested when you're 16? And you have
Blink's wrong. Blink wrong. Blink wrong. Blink.
Blink wrong.
Move now.
You're talking about blink wrong, move wrong.
So, repeat the question. You turn the phone off.
It's on my phone.
Huh?
It's on my phone.
And now, this Crime Reports and Rewards special report.
This video is of an African American who obeys the request of police officers to leave his own home he shares with his girlfriend, then is pulled over right after he leaves. Again, we don't know if these cops are using steroids or if this is how they act normally. But it points out why the public is so fearful of police using steroids, because if a civilian is acting violently, you can call the cops. But what do you do when the cops are acting violently, then deceiving the court system to put someone in prison who is afraid for their life due to actions taken by public servants who are our only recourse when we need help from the law?
This is the Bloomfield Police Department's dash cam video that prosecutors say they never saw when they pursued criminal charges against 30-year-old Marcus Jeter. Notice his hands in the air. He was charged with eluding police, resisting arrest, and assault. And also notice who throws repeated punches.
If the tape hadn't surfaced,
I was going to be doing jail.
The incident began when cops were called to the Bloomfield home Jeter shares with his girlfriend. No charges were filed, and Jeter says he left after briefly talking to officers.
they say you were eluding them.
When they were behind me with the lights on, I pulled right over,
So you weren't trying to escape?
No, I wasn't trying to escape.
In a video from the first police car, prosecutors did see Jeter stops on the side of the Garden State Parkway. The cops pull out guns.
Why didn't you just get out of the car?
Because I was afraid. There was a cop on my left with a gun pointed at me, and there was one on my right side with a shotgun pointed. I'm afraid that I might get shot.
If you got out?
The tape not initially turned over is on the dash of a second police car that comes from the opposite direction, crosses the median into ongoing traffic, and then strikes Jeter's car. There is no mention of that in any police report. When Jeter first told his attorney that part of the story,
it was incredible. I didn't believe his story at that particular point in time.
So you finally believed him then?
Yes.
The next thing I know, as he's coming around the car, the glass gets busted, and all the glass goes in my face.
Get out the car!
Your hands are up.
My hands are up. As soon as he opened the door, one of the officers reached in and just punched me in my face. As he's trying to take the seatbelt off, he's elbowed me in my jaw. And I'm like, ah! And he's like, stop trying to take my gun.
Don't go for my gun!
Stop resisting arrest. Stop trying to take my gun. And as he's saying that, I just knew, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, like, okay, this is gonna go wrong.
Get down! Stop resisting! Stop resisting! Why are you trying to get my gun? Get off my gun!
And right before when they opened the door about to put me in, the officer hits me in the back of the head again.
as soon as prosecutors saw this video, they dismissed all of the charges against Jeter. Interesting to note, an investigation by Bloomfield PD's scandal-plagued Internal Affairs Division had found no wrongdoing by police officers.
The blame is with the Bloomfield Police Department not providing that tape. If we hadn't had the tapes in this particular case, an innocent man would be in jail today.
I'm sure that if this happened to me, it could happen to a bunch of other people,
Scary, right?
It's a scary situation.
And we were there exclusively today in Essex County Court in Newark, where Bloomfield police officers Sean Porter, there on the left,
And Orlando Trinidad, who you will see here on the right, were arraigned on charges including conspiracy, official misconduct, and falsifying reports. Trinidad is also charged with aggravated assault. They pleaded not guilty.
You've been watching Crime Reports and Rewards with Griff Griffin and Dave Michaels, where you stay anonymous, the criminals don't. If you have any information on these or any other crimes, call our national tip line at 1-800-222-TIPS. Well, you'll stay anonymous and could get a cash reward. You can see this or any other episode of Crime Reports and Rewards on the web anytime at crimereportsandrewards.com. Crime Reports and Rewards is a production of Michaels Media.